guys, I'm Mark and welcome to my very first spoken video. Today I want to try something a bit different from the usual stuff, a kind of experiment for me. As you might know, I'm Italian, so I'm sorry in advance if my English isn't perfect. Since a lot of you have been asking how I made my last two creations, Infinite and Golden Ring, I decided to put together a tutorial to share some behind the scenes insights on these two coasters. But before we dive in, now that I finally have the chance to talk about it, I just want to give a huge shout out to Coaster and such for convincing me to make this video, and of course all of you who follow me. This summer I was really close to giving up on making videos, but then I saw this incredible spike in subscribers and views. In no time, a ton of you joined the channel, and now we're over 600. Thank you so much, guys. Making a video like this is pretty tough for me because my English isn't that great, and honestly, not too long ago I would have never thought I could do it. But given that recent excitement, I figured I'd give it a shot. So, with that said, let's get started.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty and break down the individual coasters, I want to say a little something about these two projects, since they have a lot in common. Both of them are reproductions of Intamin's LSM vertical models. Infinite is a mashup of Sandy's Blasting Bronco and a small model from the 3 LSM vertical designs, while Golden Ring is a reproduction of the medium model. I've chosen not to call them recreation because, while they are indeed copies, they differ in several ways from the original designs they're based on. For instance, Golden Ring uses a track type that belongs to the older Intamin models. I had two reasons for this choice. First, I wanted the two coasters to look super similar, so since I already built Infinite using the whole Intamin track model, I decided to do the same with Golden Ring. The second reason is pretty practical. I could have made a perfect copy of the LSM vertical medium using user-created elements from the workshop, but that would have taken me a ton of time. Now, onto the construction part. Both coasters were built using the 1 meter method. As we know, this method works really well if we want our coasters to be super smooth, but aesthetically it can look kinda strange and definitely not realistic. To tackle this issue, after I got the track smoothness I wanted to use in the 1 meter method, I gradually removed the smaller segments and replaced them with larger sections using the autocomplete method. This gave the coaster a more realistic look, not just in terms of ride smoothness, but also from the aesthetic standpoint. Of course, you gotta be careful with this process because autocomplete can sometimes mess up the track smoothness, so you'll need to try a few times. Now let's take a closer look to each individual coaster. To get reproduction as close as possible to the original designs, I used the measurements from the Intamin website to create structures, basically boxes, where I built the coaster inside. I picked a random coaster from the menu and created a track segment of the length I needed. For the Golden Ring, I made a structure that's 59 meters long, 12 meters wide and 35 meters tall. Given the uniqueness of the coasters, especially with Golden Ring, I couldn't use the regular station provided by the game. It's clear that this means the coaster won't be usable by visitors and will just be for looks. To achieve this, I hid the original station underground and used an invisible track to connect the station to the ride. At this point, though, a problem popped up. My goal was to make sure those awful test dummies weren't visible on the train, and since that's only possible when the ride is open, the coaster had to complete a full ride. So, using another invisible track, I built an extra section to let the train come back to the station and do a full run of the track. This is maybe the one area where the console version of the game is better than the PC version. On console, even when attractions are testing, you can get rid of those test dummies in the settings. If that option had been available on PC, I wouldn't have had to close the track. When it comes to the connectors, I use the coaster support one large intamin connector made by Distance. Even though it's definitely the best piece I've found in the workshop, it's not exactly true to life. If you take a close look at the connectors that Intamin uses on their coasters, you'll notice there's a segment at the top that connects to the track, which is missing in the piece from Distance. So I decided to make a little tweak by using the beam created by Hydro to make them look more like the real thing. Here we are at the part that many of you have probably been waiting for, the POV shots. First of all, to get a smoother POV, I used a different train model for both coasters than the one seen in the off-ride, which is the Hazy Sky train. The Hazy Sky model is the only one that can really give an incredible smoothness to the ride, especially where there are sharp turns in the track. However, it's not always necessary to swap out the train to get good POVs. If the track is designed really well, the results will be good no matter what train model you use. From my experience, I recommend using the Hazy Sky if your track is pretty compact like in this case, but if you're working on a larger coaster, you'll likely get good POVs even without switching the train. When it comes to making the POV for Infinite, there's not much to say, but Golden Ring was a whole different story. The POV for Golden Ring has 6 different shots. Before I could start recording, I had to try a bunch of times to figure out exactly how to adjust the acceleration and braking sections. This was super important because I wanted to avoid any issues during the editing phase and make sure all the cuts looked seamless. I needed to know precisely how to tweak each section throughout a single run, so I took notes on all the changes I needed to make at every step. Also, I overlaid the original track with a duplicate segment on the station section because since the original track is gonna change a bunch during the run, it's important for it to look the same. Otherwise, we'll magically see the track change every time we cut it in editing. Alright, now let's break down how I put the POV together step by step. The first step was to add a section of track with a delayed launch at the station and immediately after that the acceleration segment. Now we can begin the testing phase. At this point, I press pause with the PK and modify the section of track just passed by removing the launch section to allow the train to swing backward. Additionally, I remove the invisible section that connects the hidden station underground to the actual track, and then close it off. Now I put the launch segment back in so the train can do the loop. This is when those notes I took come in handy because I know exactly how to set up the launch segment now. It's crucial now to remove the launch section on the station before the train goes over it again. Once I've done that, I swap it out for a brake section. Now I'll adjust the brake settings to slow the train down even more. Pause one last time. Now I replace the brake segment with the delayed launch that was there at the start of the ride to let the train come to a stop. last step, I got all the material I need to put together the POV. During editing, I made a few tweaks to smooth out the transition between shots, a little color adjustment here and there, and sometimes a quick fade. Now let's check out the final result. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you liked the video, but above all, that it's been understandable. As I mentioned at the beginning, my English isn't perfect, I know, so if anything was unclear, just drop me a comment and I'll try to explain it better. See you soon, guys!